Funny thing is, I mean, if you do triathlon, you're bound to see people that are a little bit disappointed at the end. There are going to be someone complaining about someone drafting. There's going to be complaining about someone marshalling, about some aid stations not doing their job, and people are going to be, I didn't get my slot, or blah, I didn't get my taper right. You rarely see anyone disappointed at the end of a swim run. You know, people are just truly happy about finishing the course.
Welcome to the Low Tide Boyz, a Swimrun Podcast. I'm Chip.
And I'm Chris, and on this week's show, we have the one and only Jonas Colting. Super excited about this episode. We interviewed him when we were in Catalina.
I was a little starstruck.
We knew who he was,
yeah.
But it was very surprising when we finally met him. He was like another species of human as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah.
Tall, tanned, obviously super fit. I couldn't tell how old he was, but he's like been winning championships since 1991. He's won Ötillö like 3 times. Anyway,
yeah,
there's more on that later. But really cool episode coming up for you guys. But first,
so Chris and I are in the Bay Area, and like many people, in fact, the entire world, actually, Earth, the planet Earth, is being consumed by the coronavirus. In the Bay Area here specifically, we have a shelter in place, which means we need to stay in our homes unless we're going out for essentials, so groceries and food, and that's pretty much it. No, all the bars are closed. Restaurants are supposed to be doing delivery only, reduced capacity, so not so certain terms, the shit just got real here for us.
Yeah, and if you think about it, it's real all over the place, but acutely for us, our pool that we just joined, our great new fancy pool is closed, and most gyms are closed, and we're pretty much limited to training outside, which kind of got a little, our whole year has kind of gone sideways for a lot of people, not just us.
Yeah, and we don't want to discount what's going on in the rest of the world, but we're just trying to keep it related to us, I guess, and sort of, we know that there's larger problems beyond
right,
your race getting canceled or your pool's not, but that's just what we're talking about because it's the most normal for us.
Right, and we are not experts at anything, but please listen to the CDC and whatever international WHO, listen to the scientists. Please listen to the scientists and just do whatever they say. But yeah, our 50-miler that we were going to do next month got canceled, including some ramp-up races I was going to do leading up to that.
Yep.
And Ironmans are being canceled. Lake James, we just found out, got canceled. Costa Brava swim run in Spain got canceled, in addition to other races internationally. So I think it's tough for athletes because everybody always, when you sign up for the race, you're not thinking it's going to get canceled. So it's kind of it's just a big letdown. But you can still train. You can still go outside. Just don't do it in groups. Again, listen to the medical and scientific experts.
Social distancing of 6+ feet between each other. Chris and I are pushing those boundaries right now.
Yes, but we're in the same petri dish as far as I'm concerned. So
yeah,
so it's tough times for everybody, but hang in there. We'll get through this together and just do what you can and just be safe and be mindful for the more vulnerable in the community
and other humans.
Yes.
Well, that was a lot of depressing stuff, but something that's cool that we did with Wild Swimrun, as you heard Mia and Fanny on last week's episode, we announced the Low Tide Boyz Wild Swimrun swag collab, which is now live. If you go to lowtideboyz.com, there's a big bar at the top, and you just click that, and it'll take you to buy this merch. We have shirts, sweatshirts, even a special pillow in there for any people who enjoy leisure in their life, both men's and women's sizes. Proceeds from that will go to fund the Wild Youth Initiative, which we spoke with me and Fanny about, and they are super stoked, over the moon, very thankful, and we were more than happy and are excited to see how much that we can fundraise for this initiative.
When I first learned about Wild Swimrun, just when we were following people on Instagram and people start liking our stuff, when I checked them out, I was like, wow, this is just such a cool organization, cool idea, super niche, but not unlike our podcast. And after meeting them, I just thought they were just two of the greatest people around.
Yeah.
And they were so nice and so it was so genuine what they're trying to do that honestly, I just feel humbled that they're stoked with us collaborating with us. Like, who are we, you know? So
Yeah.
it's I'm really stoked about that. And I got myself a sweatshirt that I'll be proudly wearing.
I'm eyeing which thing I'm
as someone who gets chicked a lot, Chase Misk. I'm super stoked with that collab, and I'm stoked that they're stoked. I think that's the most.
I'm stoked that you're stoked that they're stoked, and I think they're stoked that we're stoked.
Yes.
Everyone's
just stoked. Stoke level is super high.
So we you can buy it in US dollars, in euros. They ship to Europe. We did our best to try to accommodate everybody, but this isn't our platform. We just did the best that we could, and we didn't mark it up a lot. We try to make it pretty kind of what they recommended. A shirt's like $25, and then remember the proceeds from that do go to this initiative. So there is some good going on, and you get a cool shirt as well. And when you do snag these, send us a picture on Instagram, tag us, and we'll for sure reshare that.
Definitely.
And I know the Wild Swimrun women will be also excited.
It's definitely a low bar for you to get a repost from the Low Tide Boyz on Instagram.
We don't even know what you're saying. If you're putting it in Swedish, we'll
just put it out there.
We'll put it out there. You could tell us that we have very bad hair. We'll repost it.
Hey, hey, that's a personal attack. Anyway, so we have a couple shout outs this week. We have two ladies who, since we started posting on Instagram, this was even before the show, just been big fans, liking everything. We really appreciate their engagement. Johanna and Terry. I think they're both from Sweden. So thank you guys for following us and sort of getting our sense of humor.
Appreciate it.
Yeah.
Very much.
So with that, I think let's just cut to this week's show. We have Jonas Colting. He's a really interesting guy. We talk about sort of the history of Ötillö.
Such cool stories, and just to hear, he shared, so not to spoiler, but he's been in every Ötillö World Championship.
He's done every one, yeah.
So he's telling us about the first couple that they had where they had these
Don't ruin it. Don't ruin it.
I'll bleep out of it. I'll bleep out, and people will have to listen.
You're actually going to bleep it?
I'm going to bleep it. And they'll be like, what is he talking about? He bleeped it. I won't be able to know.
He's swearing. I thought you could say shit on this show. What?
Well, I'm going to bleep that too. Well, without any further ado, enjoy the one and only Jonas Colting on this week's episode of the Low Tide Boyz.
Yep.
Let's just say that today's guest has his own Wikipedia page. So
we don't have one.
Just to tee that up, we're honored and humbled to have the one and only Jonas Colting on the show today. Jonas has won 6 world and European medals in triathlon and has been competing in the sport since 1991. He's also won the Ultraman World Championship in Hawaii twice. And for those that don't know what that's about, that's a 320-mile or 515-kilometer for our metric friends, 3-day competition in Hawaii. That's just insane. He's also won Ötillö World Championship 3 times and is the only person that's ever done the race. That's done the race every year since its inception in 2006. He launched his own wetsuit company, Colting Wetsuits, in 2016, and that brand has been innovating in the sport since the beginning. Jonas, thank you so much for being on the show.
Thank you. I'm honored to be a guest of one of the few Swimrun podcasts I know of.
Yeah, well, definitely the first one in the U.S., right? So we typically ask our guests how they first learned about Swimrun, but I think in this case, that question takes a whole new meaning. So maybe can you just tell us kind of what was happening in Sweden around 2006 and how you experienced sort of the birth of a brand new sport?
Sure, yeah. Funny thing, though, I mean, the actual name Swimrun, it didn't come about until maybe 6 years after that first race. We didn't have a name for this thing. We just called it Ötillö. And the story is that the two guys behind Ötillö, Mats and Micke, whom I didn't really know at the time, I've heard of them and they've heard of me. They ran sort of one of the premier adventure racing multisport teams in the world at the time, and I read a little bit about them, and I'm sure they heard of me as well. And they contacted me in 2006, in the summer of 2006, and said that they invited me to come and do a new race that they had designed in the Stockholm archipelago. that they were going to call Ötillö, which is island to island.
Island to island, yeah.
And they said, well, it's a race. You're going to swim, a sort of an unspecified amount of swimming at that point, but around 10 kilometers, 10 kilometers, and there will be running around somewhere in the vicinity of 60 kilometers or something like that.
No big deal.
Well, it's what they said, and I was like, and so is that like one swim and one run, or no? You run across the island and on the other side you swim to the next island and then you run across. Okay, that sounds cool. So are we supposed to put out 20 pairs of shoes? Because I was in my triathlon background. I thought about triathlon transitions, and so I was immediately thinking about the logistical nightmare of doing 20 transitions. It's like, no, we haven't really thought that through, but I think you'll need to actually swim in your shoes and run in the wetsuit. And I was like, okay, that sounds pretty hard. And is the course going to be marked? Oh yeah, very well marked. There will be no confusion whatsoever where you're supposed to go. So I was like, yeah,
famous
okay,
last
well,
words.
I see where this is going.
Yeah, so okay, so it's a race with swimming and running. You know, I was sort of in my prime as a triathlete, so I thought, and there's a 10,000 kroner first prize. So I was like, okay, well, sign me up then.
Yeah.
So it's a team sport. So you bring your best training partner. I was like, that's good. I've got one.
Yeah.
So that's pretty much the start. We came up to that first race. There were a number of rules actually the first 2 years were pretty funny. I mean, to be honest, Mats and Micke, they didn't know the sport. No one knew the sport. They didn't even come from a swimming background, so they didn't know what to expect of swimming in the ocean. So they had us wear life preservative jackets. On top of I was like,
wow,
the wetsuit is a life preservative. I challenge you to swim underwater with a wetsuit. And they're like, we need to take precautions, which was, it was reasonable at the time.
So one of those big, like that you see on the ferry, the Catalina ferry that we took over.
So you imagine putting that on top of your wetsuit and try to swim. So it's a good way to make a good swimmer really bad in the water.
So Jonas, do you think that was because, when they first did it, when the original 4 first did it, it took them like 36 hours, and they're like, people are gonna die.
Exactly. I mean, they didn't have
safety thing. Yeah.
So if you don't have a swimming background, just the concept of swimming in the ocean is going to scare you, and it's going to be okay. We need to buckle up for this. It needs to be safety first. So. That first year, actually the first 2 years were kind of weird. I mean, they had so many equipment rules. It's like you can wear fins if you want to. Actually, you have to have fins with you even if you don't wear them. So there were so much stuff that we had to wear. So I actually had a backpack on that I put all the extra gear in. Like, okay, I'm not going to use this fins. And I also thought that maybe if I take the shoes off and put them in the backpack, I'll swim faster.
Yeah.
And so I did the race with my best training friend at the time, and he was sort of a retired triathlete, and I was a much better swimmer than he was. So I was like, okay, well, I'll put your stuff in the backpack as well, and I'll actually pull it back. I'll put the backpack on. His daughter had like a small boogie board that she used to play with in the water. So I tied my backpack on that boogie board.
And just dragged
it.
So I tried to pull that behind me,
like a toe, like
a toe, like
okay.
a toe. So just imagine the time that it took us, hitting that first water, getting the backpack off, taking the shoes off, opening the backpack, putting the shoes in, trying to strap that with the line, and
then you picked the boogie board up and you ran with it.
Just ran it
on my back. So it was like you see,
you're like Iron Man or Captain America or something.
No, I was like, it's one of those Sherpas you see that has a huge backpack, like trying to climb a big mountain. That's what it looked like. So needless to say, the only team that did finish that first year, to my recollection, that finished within official time, was a Finnish multisport team that, to our surprise, came to the start with a big air mattress. Like they had one each. A huge air mattress under their arms, fully inflated. They didn't swim a single stroke for the whole time. They just paddled like on that. It's like paddling on a surfboard.
Like a surfboard.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like a air mattress that you take camping
mattress.
or something.
Exactly. Yeah. So they didn't.
It's a good idea for tomorrow. We should
they
try
didn't swim.
I think they.
So we were like, what kind of event is this? What kind of Donald Duck event is this? So we weren't. To be honest, we weren't too impressed of that first race. He was like, this is
just
awkward. In what kind of athletic event do you paddle on air mattresses? So I mean, okay, the first 2 years were trial years, and after that second year, we didn't finish that as well. I mean, the course wasn't very well marked. I mean, it was hard both organizing and participating those 2 first years. So, but I told Mats and Micke, like, hey, we're not gonna come back next year. I mean, with all this, I mean, it's ridiculous with all this equipment. This is like a military expedition. This is not a sport. It is, and they were like, okay, yeah, we feel the same. So we're gonna revise this to the next year.
Okay.
So basically, from 2008, people raced with pretty much the same gear as you see them today. I mean, cut-off wetsuit that's something we figured out that from the get-go. I mean, you need to have your elbows and knees joints freed up so you can run. You can really use pedals. I mean, if you're a good swimmer, the pedals really enhance your swimming. Yeah. You need some really light running shoes that are good on trails. And the Ötillö race is very slippery and a lot of rocks and stuff. So you need to find like a very low to the ground kind of shoe that you won't trip in and stuff. And something to protect your shins from scratching like the low bushes. And also if you can put something that makes your lower legs float. So we cut like from, you know, what do you call that? If you're out camping, you have that the squishy
foam.
Thing. The foam, exactly. So like a foam mattress. So we cut out stripes of the foam mattress and slid into our compression socks.
Interesting.
So we've sort of figured a lot of these things out from the start, and then in 2008 it took off. I mean, we're just a handful of teams for those first 2 years. I think in 2008 we were 22 teams or 26 teams. 2009 more than 50 teams. Wow. And you know, from 2010 almost 100 teams, and then there started popping up races here and there. I mean, for many years it was only Ötillö. It was the only swimrun race, and then all of a sudden people were like, we can organize a race like this. And then everyone, let's have a swimrun race, and then it just took off, you know. And
so in your opinion, what kind of, you know, coming from like the tech background in San Francisco, you know, you want your revenue to be doubling every year. So in your opinion, what's causing 25 teams to 50 to 100 to 200? What's causing this exponential growth every year?
I think it was. I mean, it was very slow at the start, and they were very good. They are very. I mean, Mats and Micke, they're doing this for the right reason. They never thought about. I mean, they must have lost so much money in the beginning. I mean, they were doing this because they thought it was a good idea. It was a good event. It was a good event, and I was like, if I have a hard time finishing this, and I'm a top triathlete, who is really going to make? I mean, who's going to? This race is for like 10. This is like for 10 people in the world. That's how hard it is. It's like this is never going to be a big race.
That first one that you did, do you remember what your time was?
Oh, we didn't even finish those first 2 years. And you got to remember,
you had to fin under 24 hours, right?
Oh yeah. Okay. Oh yeah. I mean it was like the first year I won. It was like 10 hours, maybe 10 hours 50. But you got to remember, for that we also did a bike section those first years. Because they figured the course was so we had a bike section, like on the longest
after the pig swim you would jump on a bike.
On that long run they figured no one's going to finish this before it gets dark, so we need to have like a bike section. So they picked up on all these archipelago islands every bike that they could find. Like women's, they called it island bikes. So they were very similar, like
the beach cruisers,
with a basket on top, basket in front. Yeah.
Well, it's good for your air mattress.
And they needed to be identical for it to be like fair and square.
Yeah, sure.
So they had that for 2009 and 2008 and 2009 we had the bike section because they just wanted teams to finish, you know. So it was a good idea. But then in 2009 we're like 50 teams, you know, they had to scramble up 100 bikes. They said just trying to, you know, organizing the bikes section was by far harder than, you know, marking the course. So you might be surprised that a part of race pack in 2008 and 2009 is a puncture kit. Like you would have, like you would have on a triathlon.
Oh my God! Can you imagine you're doing a 12-hour race and you got a flat tire? And then you have your boogie board you're carrying.
Yeah. So there are. I've tried to find. There are pictures somewhere of us, you know, biking the hell out of a bike cruiser, like full on wetsuit and a swim cap. and basking on top. But then teams started finishing and finished with good margin, and then finally in 2010 it's like, to hell with the bikes. This is a swim run, so we're not going to do bikes anymore.
So it sounds like as they sort of stripped off these equipment requirements, it actually enabled some people to use their raw sort of talents on the running and the swimming to be faster.
Yeah, and we just started going faster. I mean, I already in 2010, even when someone sabotaged the course, I went I think 9 hours flat or something.
Wow.
So it's
Wait, hold on. Someone sabotaged the course?
Yeah, they just pulled some kids pulled the markers on the long run or something.
Oh,
we were way off until we found our way back. But now they always have someone leading to check on it. So
yeah.
Gotcha.
But I just think that the word spread. It's I wrote about the race already in 2008, I think, on Slow Twitch or something, and people thought, and they were really good at having good photographers there. They had great pictures from and they were really serious about making a great show every year. Like they would have a good media production every year, even with only 10 teams. They would have an awesome movie out on YouTube after a few weeks, and they would do like a live cast, and they were like really good with producing material. So I just think the word slowly spread, and then at one point, it just takes off and goes viral.
Yeah,
is what I think.
I mean, they're little hype videos or their intro videos that looks like a Hollywood, action movie with really great music and really cool action scenes.
I mean, when I first heard about the race, there was a book that came out, just had to be like maybe 10 years ago. It was called The World's Toughest Endurance Challenges. And it just had all these ridiculous, Tour de Sables, like the Sahara race, like all these different stuff. And one of them was Ötillö, and you're just reading it and you're just like, this is insane. And then it's like, I wonder if there's anything on YouTube, and you see these videos and you're like, oh my goodness, this is It was really great how they were able to do that.
So they had a good strategy from the start. I would say that Mats and Mickey are true visionaries. Like they had an idea of what this could be way back before there were there were any swim runners.
Yeah.
So they were so ahead of the curve when it came to they could foresee this. So I'm really proud of the work they've done. That's why I try to, support their journey by coming to their first American race and such. So it's so much fun to see all these people wandering around. They're all basically, a lot of them are triathlon background or something, and they're all doing their first swim run here. And tomorrow it's awesome to see. It's like this is. This is what we started, and this is what we did like 15 some years ago.
So I mean, we were definitely going to ask you this later in the show, but I think it makes sense to ask it now. So you've seen the sport grow since the very first race. How important do you think it is that now Ötillö is in the U.S.?
I don't know if it's important or not, but I think it's nice. I think there's a huge market here. I think there are a lot of people that would love to do a swim run in the U.S. There are so many triathletes that have done, they've done 5 Ironman or 10 Ironman. They've done 10 Wildflower, and they're like, am I going to sign up for an 11th edition of this, or am I going to put? And I'm going to pluck down another $1,000 of doing yet another Ironman. Yeah, and it's like, oh, here's something new and fresh. Here's something I can actually race with a training partner. Here's something that I can be. Here's something that is an extreme physical challenge. It's going to make me really, really tired, but it's not the same thing as a triathlon. So I think it's a nice thing for the American triathlon market to finally have a chance to do it like a true swimmer. I mean, there are a number of swim runs already, and the guys that are organizing them are doing a great job with Lars Finanger, the Odyssey. They're all doing awesome jobs. They've all been to Ötillö, and they're all sort of embracing the true swim run strategy. But I do think, of course, as a strategic move of like as a business move to get the brand large, it's I think it's vital to be a player on the American market for sure. And it's awesome to see so many people here.
So I mean, we could talk. I could just hear you tell stories about races all day long, but you after a while you've done this race all these years. Every single year that Ötillö has been happening, you've done it. At what point were you like, you know what, this gear isn't really working for me. I've tried every wetsuit on the planet. I'm just going to make my own.
Yeah. No, I was in 2015 or 2014, I did a huge charity swim during the summer in Sweden. I swam from Stockholm, which is incidentally also where the Ötillö race is, but out in the archipelago. But I swam from Stockholm, sort of along the in the Baltic Sea, and then there's a canal, or a man-made canal, that connects with some natural water, so you can sort of swim across Sweden to the west coast to Gothenburg, which is the second largest city. So I did that swim. It was 400 miles, or 640 kilometers, and I swam 11 miles.
Just a nice little Saturday.
Yeah, it was a long swim, but I did raise around $100,000 for
awesome.
water aid. They do they provide clean water and sanitation.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, it was a worthwhile project, but I was like, I'm going to make my own wetsuit brand. I had some issues with during the wetsuit that I swam with that summer, and I pretty much ended up swimming without a wetsuit all summer because it didn't work out. So I was like, I'm gonna put all the knowledge into my own brand. So we try to figure things out and make wetsuits both for the triathlon and the swimrun community. And that was also at the point where there were actually specific swimrun suits that came out. I mean, for those first few years, we just take any good triathlon wetsuit and just cut the legs and arms off. But for all those long runs, we used to sort of cab down from the backside. Like, you'd have to have a lot of help to undress and then get dressed again.
So whoever figured the idea, like, whoa, what if we move the zipper from the back and put it on the front?
Yeah,
like,
and just have dual zippers. Yeah. The bad thing with the swimrun suit, though, is that it makes the front pretty stiff. If you have a metal zipper, it doesn't make
really thick.
Yeah, so it's not flexible in the way. So I wouldn't mind. I wouldn't mind the idea of actually doing. I could consider doing it in a normal triathlon wetsuit, just cutting off. Although it'll be warmer, of course. So it's all. That's the whole thing with swimrun. It's an uncomfortable sport. It's a compromise. You're never going to be very fast. It's like something is slowing you down because you're running in a wetsuit regardless. I mean, you're running in some sort of wetsuit. You're going to swim in some sort of shoe.
Yeah,
it's going to be sort of a slower progress than you would as if just normal swimming, normal running.
Did you have any product design background or anything, or you just were always an athlete and a triathlete, and you just said, screw it, I'm gonna make it myself and figure it out?
Yeah, I'm not the design guy. I'm not even the business guy. I'm just more of the sort of the
product tester.
But I'm more the core group sort of. I'm sort of the more the audience kind of group, or I'm more the consumer group.
Okay.
So
Target market.
I'm still trying. I'm trying to be the brand. So that's why I'm still also racing and being out there and training. It wouldn't be legitimate if I just stopped doing sports and I was like, I gained 20 pounds and or I want to be a part of it, and I want to be training and racing really hard still. So I'm more on that end. So I'm lucky to have a few business partners that help me with all the other stuff. So
great.
Yeah, but a lot of product testing for sure. Yeah, over the years.
Yeah, you got some fast fish on your team.
Yes.
Okay.
Yep. We got some good athletes on our team, and we now have Lisa Norden, Olympic silver medalist, in our team this year. So that's good. So yeah, it's a lot of fun to have like a product that is so connected with the sport.
Yeah, I mean, we first learned about Colting wetsuits at our first swim run, which was in San Diego, the California swim run, and there was a rep out and talking about it and stuff, and the shin floaties, which that was like a revelation to us.
I was like, oh, what a good idea! Yeah,
that's such a great idea. It's so smart.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, so it's
was that the one on Fiesta Island or like a mission?
Yes,
I did that one year. I did that in 2018, I think. No, in 2017 I did that one.
I think that was the year before we did it.
Yeah,
because we did it in 2018.
No, because I was there.
You had to wait for the rowboat races to finish.
Yeah,
and it started at like 4 o'clock in the afternoon or something.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's like, again, we just pretty much gone past our we just entered our post-triathlon state, and we fly down that morning,
young
rent
kids,
a car.
That's awesome.
We drive down, and it's like, when's this race gonna start? It started like at 2:42 in the afternoon or something. Like, I guess we got to wait for the last regatta race to go.
That's fun. Yeah, I was because I was in Los Angeles. My brother used to live there, and we drove down because I heard about this race and I know the guys. And I was like, I'm going to take part. This is like a holy triathlon. This is holy triathlon ground.
Yeah,
so it's awesome
definitely.
to also do a swim run here. So it was a lot of fun.
It was fun,
Yeah.
and we were definitely nervous. We didn't bother with the tether because we kind of chickened out at first.
So we had the tether, and then
yeah.
they were like, "Oh, the tether's optional for this one." So we kind of chickened out. We're like, "All right, let's not use the tether."
Yeah.
But there was a couple teams. There was one European team.
And they were all decked
Germans.
out full. Like,
They were Germans, and they even had like little tiny paddles like on the top of their
Oh, man.
shoes and
Yeah.
all this stuff. And I was like, "Look at these!" They won. We were like, "Look at these crazy dudes."
And there's
It's like
people
they're
that were just literally in their running shoes and had swim trunks
Yeah,
on,
yeah.
and that's
Yeah,
all they did
it was
in.
great.
And we were somewhere in the middle, you know.
yeah.
was kinda
Well,
practiced
we
a couple
got our
times, and
suits, and we were
Yeah.
But
using
I think that's the nice thing though. It's still kind of a grassroots kind of a sport. I mean, there is still a lot of variation on what you can wear and how you can. I mean, there aren't really any swim run rules. I mean, as a race organizer, you can
Right.
decide. Like if you're part of it, if you're a triathlon event, there are sanctions and rules and
Yeah.
federations and organizations and stuff. Here it's it's a little bit of a renegade. They're like, okay, it's cold in the water, you know. Well, I as a race organizer, I find it to be okay. So okay, we're
Yeah.
gonna go ahead and do this way. Which is quite opposite to if you go to Ironman Florida and there's a swell in the water. Oh, I can see a ripple in the
cancel
water.
the
We're gonna
swim.
cancel this.
Yeah.
So that's the fun thing and the nice thing about swim run. It's more, I guess, if you're an old-time triathlete, you could do a swim run and go, okay, this is what it was like 1985 in triathlon. Or
Right.
this is like this is like 1983 or something before it became too organized.
right.
Do you see a future that swim run is kind of gets that really heavy hand on the quote unquote like the
Yeah.
red tape and a lot of the not politics necessarily, but the bureaucracy of it. So
Maybe it's a little bit inevitable once it grows and gets really big.
Yeah.
But yeah, I hope not though. I mean, I think there are some. I hear that there is a swim run federation now in France. Like they're sort of a subdivision to the triathlon federation. But
Like they're trying to start that.
so
Yeah.
I mean, there are of course positives with being organized, of course, and it's easier to reach out to even more people. But you want to at the same time keep the uniqueness and you want to keep the grassrootiness of the sport. And so yeah, but I foresee a positive future for swim run. I mean,
Yeah.
there are a lot of really good people. I think the most race organizers really understand what the sport is about. I think there's a lot of adventure. I think there's a lot of I think there's a lot of good core values, like a lot of care for the
environment
and nature, and to treat it with respect. There's a lot of there's a good vibe among the racers, There's a lot of it's pretty fierce among the elite. I think they're good, but it's also very, very it's a tight-knit community in this sense.
Yeah.
And people are very friendly.
that's what's really drawn us to the community is that one, it's very inclusive.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter what your background is or if you're on the pointy end or you just started.
Right,
you're
right.
literally towing the start line
It's true.
with pros or people that could be pros.
Right.
And there's no no one's better than anyone else, sort of, and everyone has the same kind of attitude about they love the sport and they just love the sense of adventure, and I think that's what's really attracted us to it.
Funny thing is, though, I mean, if you do triathlon, you're bound to see people that are a little bit disappointed at the end. There's going to be someone complaining about someone drafting. There's going to be complaining about someone marshalling, about some aid stations not doing their job, and people are going to be, I didn't get my slot, or I didn't get my taper right. You rarely see anyone disappointed at the end of a swim run. There is people are just truly happy about finishing the course.
Yeah, and that reminds us so much of we did the Casco Bay, the Odyssey Casco Bay in 2018.
Oh, yeah.
And we finished, and we were beat to shit. We were so tired, and we finished across the line. I looked at him like, we got to do more of these. Like, we were so exhausted, but the adventure and it was just such an awesome experience. I mean, we were hooked.
Was that the one that Lance Armstrong and Simon Whitfield did?
No, not that. That was in Orcas Island.
Orcas Island. Yeah. Okay. Good. Yeah.
That one was really.
Yeah, I wanted to go to that one, but my son was getting born, and he never sort of came.
You were just waiting for him.
Yeah, I was waiting. So yeah, I was supposed to go.
Yeah.
Or my wife had given me a clear. She's
Clearance.
like clearance if the baby came in time, but didn't happen anyway. Yeah.
Well.
So yeah, this is. I love swim run races. I wish I could go to more races around the world and just it's because it's always a unique experience.
Yeah.
So about how many swim run races not outside of Ötillö have you done?
I mean, not super many. I mean, a number of races, but I haven't really done a ton of them.
You haven't done like the circuit, like.
No, not really. I've done the one in Var, in Croatia, which is a nice race, and of course a bunch of other races around Europe or around Sweden and so. But Ötillö is really the main race that I do every year.
And you still seem, I mean, following your Instagram account, I just saw you did this crazy ice race or something where they carved a lap pool out of.
Yes.
I mean, like
on a frozen river. They carved. Yeah, they
I
carved
can't even
it.
explain it. It's so mind blowing to me. But you hopped in your speedo and you heads up freestyled all the way.
I'm pretty good at doing cold water. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm better than most at cold water.
Meanwhile, if it's a touch below 60 degrees, I don't know if I can.
I have to give him a pep talk to get in the water.
It's that was hard. That was a weird swim though. I mean, that was. Doing the 100 freestyle in that in that frozen river was.
What was the temperature? Was
0.9 degrees centigrade, which is freezing cold. Really, yeah. It was hard. It was borderline to what I could handle. Most guys that are doing really well they're a little bit more heavy set than I am.
Yeah, I was gonna
got
say
a little bit more. You don't have much insulation on you, Jonas.
No, exactly. We should say that this is like it's swimming race rules. So you're not allowed to have a wetsuit if someone didn't understand that. I mean, you swim with your swim trunks and like normal, as you would in a pool swim race. Just a normal swim cap. And
well, it's a race like that, you probably don't have to shave your legs. The hair just freezes and falls
off.
off.
It was cool. It was cool. But it's a little bit like doing a swim run in a sense. It's like wild and crazy, and it's just like this is so crazy. I got to do this race. And that's something that has dawned on me several times. Is that when a lot of people do something that is weird, it seems very normal. Like we did 1 year the Ötillö race. It's like the Ötillö Ötillö. It's where it's a spring race that Ötillö organizes. It's actually on the island on which you finish Ötillö.
That's the last 15 Ks, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
On Ötillö, yeah. So they may have a race there in the spring, and it was a really cold spring, and I think the swimming, it was like between 7 and 9 degrees, and I raced with my wife, and we were sort of a little bit in the back in the start. So we came up to that first swim, and I saw the water was filled with athletes. I mean, hundreds of athletes ahead of us, and I went in the water, and I almost panicked because it was so cold. Yeah, and I was like, "Fuck!" I was like, "This is so cold. I don't know if I can handle this." And it dawned on me that shit, I'm probably the most experienced swimmer. There's no one in the water.
Your wife's looking at you like, "What the hell are you complaining?"
This was the year after I swam like from Stockholm to Gothenburg. I was like, there is no one here that has suffered more in open water than I am. Yeah. So it's like, if I can't handle this, how the hell can these people handle that? And it sort of dawned on me that they don't have any reference. They think this is normal.
Yeah.
You know,
like,
it was
gotta go.
If you've done a lot of open swimming, you understand that this is really freezing cold.
Yeah.
So it's so funny that Swimrun has that nice aspect that, okay, so we're doing this crazy sport and we're getting in these crazy waters and we're running and we're doing these crazy distances or whatever, and it's just there are so many other people that doing the same thing with me today that it seems very, very normal, and people just finish and get through. So that's awesome.
And that's an experience that we're having in the States. I mean, we train in the Bay Area, which is a very high triathlon population, but we'll do some swim run practicing and we'll be in the water, and people who are swimming out there, are you really in your shoes? Or we'll be running and people are stopping and looking at us and stopping us to ask us what's going on. But next year I feel we won't be the only ones. It'll be.
It's funny because
it'll be normal.
We've been talking about it. Like, we'll go do our swimrun practice and we'll be like, well, when's the time where we're going to be out here practicing and there's going to be another team?
Right.
You know.
But don't they have a lot? I mean, they have so many people in the Bay Area that are doing sort of like year-round swimming in the Bay.
Yeah.
So there's got to be there's got to be a huge amount of people that would think that this is an awesome idea.
Well, I mean, it is. I mean, we see that. Yeah. So
they
an
just
aquatic
don't know
park
it exists.
Okay.
Yeah. So in an aquatic park, people swim year-round for better with a wetsuit, without a wetsuit. Whether the water is 50 degrees Fahrenheit sometimes. But yeah, like, people either look at us like we're crazy,
which we kind of are.
They look at us confused, or they're totally curious and stop us and ask us questions. Like, we'll be running, they'll be like, how come you have a zipper in the front? What's going on?
Why did you just swim with your shoes on?
Yeah.
And you're running with your wetsuit on? Okay.
Yeah, I mean, it's great. It's great. I mean, it's one of the reasons we started this show was because in the U.S., we were the only ones who knew anything about swimrun. We're the ones who were telling our friends about it, and we just thought that there was like a gap in knowledge,
or there was no one talking about it.
Yeah,
in our,
and we don't consider ourselves experts or anything, but it was more like, all right, well, let's just get some good content out.
But I see now that, I mean, the guys at Slow Twitch are a friend of mine, and they're doing a lot of swimrun coverage, which is awesome. Which is awesome. So there are a ton of triathletes that go. That, I mean, people think that this looks genuinely like a good idea, and I've seen that Triathlete Magazine has done a lot of things building up to this race. So it seems like I mean, the triathlon community may be embracing this quite a bit, I think. Yeah, I hope to.
I think so. Well, I actually, professionally, I work with race directors to help make their events sell out and be optimized in whatever way possible. And it seems to me that if you're a triathlete, if you put on triathlons, you should be considering a swimrun distance if you're
so
trying
much.
to.
It's so, because I have my own 2 events in Borås, where I live in Sweden. We're an Ötillö merit race. And I have a triathlon on the Saturday, because we use the same venue, so we just sort of dress it differently for this. So on the Saturday we do triathlon, sprint, and half Ironman, and on the Sunday we do a swim run, a long course and a short course. And it takes a lot of time to do to mark the course on the swim run, but you're never scared as an organizer as you are on a swim run, because you always have the car factor, the traffic factor as a triathlon event organizer. So you're always scared to get that call that, okay, so there's a car crashing into blah blah or something. So and road closures and stuff like that. It's a hassle to organize a triathlon. In the best case scenario, it's hard.
And
so it's definitely hard to put on a good race for sure.
And again, you were at the birth of swimrun in Sweden. How do you see it happening in the U.S. to kind of get that same bit of growth? Is it all the big, maybe not Ironman, but maybe some of these larger regional triathlons making a race that is a swimrun that's, it's not a full World Series distance, but it might be a shorter one? Is that kind of where you see it, or how do you see the growth happening?
I think there needs to be guys like that become sort of ambassadors, or that that do it professionally. Like, I think Lars Finanger's done a great job. That's built a series. Like he early on understood what the sport was about, and he sort of had some knowledge on race organizing and stuff like that. And so he's like, okay, so I get the picture. So this is what we're going to do. And so you need to have like good professional people that know event organizing, because an event is an event regardless of what you're putting on. I mean, you need to have happy, satisfied customers. You need to understand, okay, if you come to a race, what do you expect? I mean, what are you paying for? So I think you need to have just more of those. But it's not that hard to organize a swim run. I think that maybe the difficult part in the U.S. is to get permits. I don't know how hard it is, but in Sweden, there is never a problem of swimming and running in the forest, because it's like we don't have private property in that sense. I mean, you don't run onto someone's. You don't run into someone's house,
backyard or something.
But forests are accessible to anyone. Doesn't even if someone owns the forest, I mean, you're allowed to organize something.
It's open for everyone.
It's open for everyone.
I think really ties back to what Ötillö is trying to do with the environmental aspect and all that, which is another awesome part of their
so I see
vision.
that may be like a bigger problem in the U.S. to get like permits and sanctions, and maybe they're. I don't know how difficult it is to get permits for swimming. I mean, we need to have what do you call it, like liability and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But I mean, there should be plenty of areas that are excellent for swimrun events in the U.S.
We keep looking for one where we live. We're like, can we use this lake here?
Yeah, Chipper's always trying to jump into these lakes. I'm like, this lake is full of algae. What are you doing? You're gonna get sick.
Well, don't drink it. I don't know.
Exactly. No, but I mean. I see there is a big growth in the U.S. So I'm sure that give it a few years, I'm sure we're going to have hundreds of races in the U.S. basically. So it's I think the future is really good for swimrun in the U.S.
Awesome.
How about personally for you? What's next for you? Any big projects you're working on? Anything you want to plug?
I mean, I'm just trying to not get too old and too fat too soon, I just really, really enjoy to exercise and to be part of the scene in some way. Now I'm doing this race with Alexander. He's one of my one of my athletes that I coach, or the only athlete that I personally coach.
Okay.
And he's,
Is your coaching just tell us a little bit? Is it just an endurance kind of or triathlon?
Yeah, it's very
swim run?
triathlon based. It's
Okay.
more like it's more community based. It's
Okay.
sort of a digital service that we have. But Alexander is a guy from my town who I coach, is doing a second year professional triathlon. So
Yeah.
he's also really good at
He has a
swimming.
course record on some swim.
Yeah, he's
saw
a really good
already.
swimmer.
Okay.
Yeah,
Or decent according to him.
yeah,
he's decent.
he's good. Yeah, but I have to. He's killing me. I
He's
mean,
giving you a run for your
yeah,
money.
yeah, it's so frustrating. It doesn't matter how fast I get in the pool. Like I had a great workout the other day. We did hundreds.
Yeah.
I mean, long course meters, and I was pushing them down to like 105, 106 long course,
Jesus.
and I'm still like, God damn. I mean, I'm taking them out really hard first 50, and I'm still, I'm still at his waist as we're turning. I was like, doesn't matter how fast I swim, this guy's always faster. It's frustrating.
Well, he's
but
probably got 20 years on you or something.
it wouldn't mean I've done a bad job as a coach if I beat him.
Right,
So-
Oh, that's
Exactly.
true. Yeah.
But I just really enjoy exercising, and I'm really just happy and thankful for every year that I can like be a part of it and train, and it's gives me a lot of happiness basically, and I'm long term. It would be really fun to do a swim run with my son. He's just 17 months old now, so
Okay.
but that's a long term goal.
Yeah,
wouldn't that
just-
be fun to have?
Just stay in the pool for another
Yeah.
couple of years.
Yeah. So it's just
That would be great.
Yeah. So I'm hoping to do a few triathlons. I'm of course hoping to standing on the starting line of the 15th Ötillö.
Yeah.
And I've told Mats and Mickey I want one of those orange. I want a veteran vest now.
Yeah.
No, I want one of those. I want to start 10 minutes ahead of everyone else.
You want a nice handicap?
Yeah. I
handicap
was
start.
like,
Okay.
yeah. And so exactly. I want to have one. I want to have a veteran vest.
Well, if they
I
give
think I've
you
earned that now.
if they give you head start, I think we definitely need one.
Yeah,
just
we
for
need
being,
like 2 hours.
just for being dads. We need the dad head start.
Yeah. That's right.
Awesome. And then what's coming up for Colting? I mean, I know you guys have you have a triathlon line of suits and
Yep.
obviously a swim run suit. Just keeping iterating off that, and I mean, you guys are really pressing the envelope, and I feel challenging. Long-standing companies like Orca and
Right.
Blue 70 and Roca and Arc and everything.
Yeah. We're just trying to be we're trying to be innovative and try to sort of better ourselves every year. We're trying to be be very looking for all the feedback that we can get from athletes and customers, and try to just make better suits basically, and
Yeah.
we're sort of, it's really for the love of water and for the love of swimming. And I think one of the great aspects of Swimrun is that there are so many adult people that come into the sport with basically no background at all for swimming and or
Right.
running. And
Yeah.
in Sweden, that's very true. I mean, for the swim camps that I host, we have so many people that, I mean, basically 100% are adult swimmers with no background
Yeah.
in swimming, and
Wow.
their motivation is that they've signed up for a swim run or a triathlon and they want to learn how to swim, and and the key for them to actually take that first step is that they know they're going to do the swim run with a good friend, so they're not going to be alone in the water, if you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they have that insecurity factor sort of
Interesting.
leveled out a little bit, and so that's the great thing. So I'm happy that we can provide products for people to get to experience that beautiful
Mhm.
sport of open water swimming and swim run. And I know for a lot of people that it's like a new world opens. It's like, yeah, this is awesome. I can't believe I haven't done this before, and
Yeah.
I didn't know this even existed. And it's this is the best thing I've ever tried. This is the most fun I've ever had on a race course. So that's one of my major motivations for having a wetsuit company as well.
Awesome.
Yeah.
That's great. Well, Jonas, it's been an honor to
It's-
have you on the
yeah.
show.
Thank you.
It's you're a legend, living legend, and this is so great. So
And we
thank you
can
so
sit
much.
here and listen to you talk early swim run stories for a couple hours, but we want to be respectful of your time for sure. And so, but yeah, we really appreciate it. So where can everyone find out about you and Colting Wetsuits? Where would they go to find out all
yeah.
that stuff?
Probably on Instagram is the best. It's the
Okay.
best way. So I'm listed under Jonas Colting. I'm trying to post more in English than before, and Colting Wetsuits is also on Instagram. We try to we sort of revved up our Instagram business as well, and try to post more. So yeah,
Sounds
that's
good.
that's probably the best way to follow me is on social media.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. All right.
Thank you for listening to the Low Tide Boyz, a swim run podcast. Make sure to subscribe wherever you listen to your podcast and leave a review on iTunes if you're so inclined.
You can also sign up for a newsletter at lowtideboyz.com. That's boys with a Z. And check out our meme page at the Low Tide Boyz on Instagram. If you have any questions or suggestions for the show, drop us an email at lowtideboyz@gmail.com.
We'd like to thank Writing Easy Records for our show music, and of course our wives for their support and tolerance of our swimrun activities, hobbies, and other bullshit we do.
Finally, you can support our efforts on Patreon. Until next time, get out there and go for a swim.
And then a run.
And then another swim.
Then another run.
And then another swim.
And then run to the finish line. And just keep going until you're done.
Yes, or
until
run
you
to
cross the finish line.
Or run to the car.
Or run to your car.
Somewhere. Just keep running.
Peace.
Peace.